everyone, welcome back to Flow State Reactions. I am Starry, and I am here yet again to react to The Lord of the Rings. And this is the behind the scenes of The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. Yes, we are moving on from the music reactions, which I will return to. But right now, I'm just really missing Peter and the crew. Okay, I spent a lot of time watching behind the scenes for all three movies of the Lord of the Rings. And so I'm just kind of missing that feeling. And even though I loved the music, I literally had to pry myself out of it in order to start reacting to The Hobbit. But like I said, I will be back to the music. So all right, you guys, without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and get into this intro with Peter Jackson, and then we're going to move on to the next video, which is almost an hour long. So, of course, I'm going to have to split that up, but thank you for joining me. And 1, 2, 3, let's flow. So excited.
Hello,
Hi, Peter.
and welcome to Middle-earth. For those of you that have seen the Lord of the Rings special editions, it should be welcome back to Middle-earth. And for those of you who are new, we'll walk you through what you can expect to see in these appendices, which we actually began back with the Lord of the Rings films. Now, Professor Tolkien had appendices in the back of the Lord of the Rings, and like his appendices, these are our backstories and supporting material.
Yeah.
Action? Oh, okay, good.
Good point.
This is our chance to finally present them to you.
Oh, did you get that?
Yeah, I did.
Now, The Lord of the Rings had 6 appendices spread over the 3 movies. This is actually appendices number 7 and number 8, if you're keeping track.
That's why they're
Now,
numbered that way.
appendices number 7 is called A Long Expected Journey, and that's a chronological experience of shooting An Unexpected Journey, the first Hobbit movie, beginning with pre-production in late 2010.
Oh my goodness, the thrills that I am experiencing right now.
The middle of 2012. And appendices number 8 is entitled The Return to Middle-earth. And this section is comprised of various pieces documenting the realization of the characters.
Hello, everybody. You've got
The casting.
Why did it come to me?
The realms of Middle-earth.
This is a great spot.
Oh my goodness.
Creatures. And the songs. Now, all of the features and documentaries can be watched individually or in various player configurations. And we will continue this behind-the-scenes journey over the next couple of years on films 2 and 3. But for now, there's about 9 hours of documentary material to enjoy on this special edition. So please sit back, and I hope you enjoy this look at the making of The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey.
Sure I will. Thank you, Peter. Are we moving on to the next one? Hold on. I have an ad. Okay, before we go into the journey back to Middle-earth, let me just catch my breath, because I'm telling you, it was like a whirlwind of emotions that came in. I don't know how long it's been. I've been reacting to music videos, like posting that for week to week, but it has to be about a good 2 months, right? Maybe even 3 months of me being away from watching the behind the scenes, and just seeing that blew me away. So I can only imagine what you guys felt waiting all that time just for the next release of the movie. So after the Fellowship of the Ring, you had to wait for the Two Towers for a whole year. And you had your appendices to like tie you over if you were fortunate enough to actually get the DVD box set at the time, and you know, to just kind of hold you over into the next movie, because I really feel some kind of way. I had to address it. I had to get that off my chest so we can go ahead and get into the journey back to Middle-earth, The Hobbit behind the scenes. I hope they talk about what happened and how Peter wound up being the director at the last minute. Like, what? Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Let's flow. Hi, Peter.
I thought, I'm never going to make 3 films back to back again.
Yeah.
Never such a long shoot.
Okay.
I never realized that 10 years later, we were doing it all over again.
I'm trying to tell you.
If anyone can keep the spirit of the book,
oh, 10 years
it's Peter and Fran and Philippa and the gang.
And the scramble to get a movie made, sometimes you don't really know where you are at any one time.
There, yeah,
but I remember the day when I knew we were back in Middle-earth.
Let me tell you something.
It's a mixture of nostalgia and surrealism, and I don't know how to how to process it.
I don't know how to process it either.
Rightfully mindful of is like what happens when a load of people descend on a small space.
The Lonely Mountain.
It was 10
Lots of men,
years.
lots of testosterone,
Okay.
all acting the hell out of each other. You
I'm
know
trying
what I
to tell you.
I took
It
a
was
bashing
so
over
impressive.
those 2 weeks. I took a real bashing. And the thought of sitting in front of a monitor, watching 3D with glasses on, I thought, bring it on, bring it on.
The process of making this film is one where everybody is just trying to keep up and deal with things that are happening on the day, and sometimes they're quite major.
Everyone went, okay, if we can achieve that in that much time, we can make this movie. We can get it done.
It's rare that a challenge will be so great that myself or our team are sort of hitting our heads against a wall, but I think we were close to it.
I felt pretty miserable and thought perhaps has the time come for me to stop acting altogether if I can't cope with these difficulties.
Oh, really?
I think in a previous life, quite a few of our construction and design people were part of some medieval torture kind of world.
Right.
I don't know.
We put the same effort and ethic into this in Lord of the Rings, but it just got bigger and it got more extensive on The Hobbit.
Oh, okay.
That was one of the things that Peter told us very early on. Don't think small, think big, think wide.
He has a big picture for the character that I can't quite see yet. So even though there's stuff here that I don't know if I can do it, I just know that he'll take me there.
The making of the movie was almost walking step by step, stride by stride with our company as they were on their own journey.
Oh, okay. I really enjoyed The Hobbit. I really did. It just felt like we picked up right where we left off, you know?
This is a very complicated movie times 3, all at once. This is going to be the hardest thing I ever do in my life, and I will never. I've actually had enough really of these complicated things. My next movie is going to be very simple. Whatever it is, it will be as simple as hell.
He said, I'm done.
When we made The Lord of the Rings, I was absolutely sure that was going to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Yeah.
Just run forward and give him a big hug. And, you know, I thought, that's done. It was an amazing experience. Finished.
Then, you know, time carries on, and post Rings, he gets into the world of King Kong, and then there starts to be these rumblings of what's going to happen with The Hobbit.
After Lord of the Rings finished, all of us are, of course, anxious. When is The Hobbit going to happen?
Let's not shut the One Ring Gauntlet down just at this moment.
Were they cheering The Hobbit at like the end of The Lord of the Rings? At the Return of the King?
I think it was the campaign.
Oh my God.
The idea of doing The Hobbit was always there in terms of the fact that the Lord of the Rings trilogy had been successful. The studio was keen to do it, but there were rights issues involved which were quite complicated.
Okay.
Primarily because Warner Brothers didn't own all the rights. They were shared between Warner Brothers and MGM, a historical situation, I think, that goes right back to the 60s, actually, when Tolkien originally sold the film rights.
Oh, okay.
And around 2008, there was a real will to sort out the rights issue. But Peter had made the decision, I don't need to direct this.
The first time I ever mentioned it, or asked Pete if The Hobbit was ever something that he would consider, we were on location, on Rings, somewhere in a forest. And then we had a bit of downtime, and I just kind of, would you ever think about the potential making The Hobbit after this is all said and done? Now that you've spent so much time establishing the world of Middle-earth.
Okay.
And he was quick to answer with, no, I'm not interested in that.
Oh, that's why
I was
he didn't get...
always unsure whether I should direct The Hobbit.
He didn't want to do it. Okay.
Didn't really want to end up in a position where I was thinking back to what I did in Lord of the Rings, feeling like I was almost competing with myself.
Okay.
But on the other hand, we kind of feel a sentimental attachment as ownership to the Middle-earth that's been put on the screen.
You are the Lord of the Rings, sir. After Tolkien, of course. Okay, I have an ad here. Okay, here we go.
So the concept was that we would produce it, and Fran and Philippa and I would be involved in the script as as writers, possibly with somebody else, and that we'd have another director come on board.
He had a very strong inkling of who he wanted to direct it very early on.
Guillermo del Toro was one of our favourite filmmakers, and he was very enthusiastic.
Oh, they're talking about this right on top.
In our mind, he was a director that would do a really interesting version of The Hobbit.
I am exploding with the desire of just showing everything. It's fun, but it's challenging, it requires you to have your stuff together. You know, you have to do your homework every day. I really trust that we're in good shape.
We began writing with Guillermo, and that was wonderful. But unfortunately, we had no green light. The movies weren't green lit.
However, during that time, Warner Brothers were still funding the pre-production, so Guillermo was able to do a lot of the work that the director would do in that year and a half before you actually start rolling the camera.
That's great. That's my favorite.
So he was doing it.
Like Peter, Guillermo's really passionate about design.
So they were working on it even before a green light?
What? And enjoyable period.
Hi, Alan.
We had a workshop, we were building maquettes, and actually I think they were even starting to build armour. There was a lot of money being spent, and yet there was no deal between MGM and Warner Brothers. And when a deal was getting close, when it felt like there was a deal, then MGM got into some financial problems.
Oh, no.
That got to the state that, you know, each of our proposed start dates with Guillermo got pushed, delayed.
We got to the point where it really was difficult to maintain the drive that you need to make a film when you're in this suspended state.
Yeah.
And so it became a question of whether Guillermo waited for the next 6-month delay, or does he move on
for another
and
project?
Jump back on board one of the other projects he was developing, and that's ultimately what happened around May and June in 2010.
I remember the meeting where he announced that he had to leave, and he was very clearly heartbroken.
I saw Peter's face, which was grey, and I thought the whole thing had just folded, to be honest.
Dang, that is...
It was a horrible moment.
We understood why he needed to move on, respected that decision, but it did leave us with the issue of, okay, so what now?
Peter didn't immediately, pick up the reins either. I think a lot of people think that as soon as Guillermo left, Peter was in. That was not the case. I think Peter kind of struggled with it.
At the point that Guillermo left, a substantial amount of money had been spent and a huge amount of work had been done.
He just couldn't wait.
We talked about it and said, well, do we now find somebody else who would like to make The Hobbit and sort of essentially start that journey again?
Which would be strange for someone.
Or do we help the studio in a very difficult situation, and do I step in and do it?
Because he had been working on it for a year and a half.
Agents trying to start doing deals with people that we were wanting, and agents were kind of going, but hang on a minute, you don't have a director, so you know, we can't, and you're not actually green-lit completely. And I spoke with Caro, producer, and said, I'm completely stuck now. And she went, right, let's go and see Peter. And we went and saw him. And I said, I can't really go any further because nobody can take it seriously. They need to know with some certainty.
There's no director and there's no...
And I'll never forget, he went, you're absolutely right, picked up the phone. I think he was calling Ken Cammons, Peter's manager, and he went, Ken, we can't move ahead until this is confirmed, so we need to confirm this. And it was like, excellent.
Oh.
All right.
Okay, let's confirm it.
Good.
Did they?
It might be interesting to see Gandalf in something like this. You think, oh my God, Gandalf kind of...
Very interesting how that happened.
By this stage, I think Peter had fallen in love with the story. We'd spent 18 months writing it.
Yeah.
We had a lot of ideas.
It took us a few weeks after Guillermo left to really make up our mind to do it, and then we still didn't have a green light. I mean, you know, that's what is easy to forget now, that after Guillermo left, it was another 4 months, maybe 5 months before... MGM did sort out its financial problems, and we actually knew we were making the film.
Just to sort of pick back in there.
But you can see why Guillermo had to leave,
and we heard that Peter was going to step in and direct it.
Too much of a question.
He was there leading the charge for us
so,
on those first 3 films.
I thought he just kind of left them high and dry or something, but he didn't. He really had to... I'm sure it was a very difficult decision for him to make. To move on to something else. At the point that we got the green
light and everyone said, yes, we want to make these films, I suddenly looked up and found myself with very little time to prepare.
Yeah.
On Lord of the Rings, I had probably 2.5 years to prepare for 3 movies.
Yeah.
And on The Hobbit, I had about 5 months to prepare.
But wasn't he
Valentine's Day.
working with Guillermo throughout the beginning process a little bit?
Start to shooting.
The first questions we all had was, well, what's going to change and what's going to stay the same?
In terms of Guillermo's designs, I looked at it and I thought this would be an amazing Guillermo del Toro film, but I can't do that. I can't suddenly step in and impersonate another
so
filmmaker.
he had to start from scratch? You got to be kidding me.
It's kind of the current favourite. It would be good to do.
I do not accept.
What I
Did he
thought I had
really
to
do
at that
everything
point
over?
was to say, okay, you're the guy that made the Lord of the Rings. Get back into that zone. Get back into that headspace.
For me and our team at the design studio, we began a process of redesign because, of course, Peter is a director of his own vision and he therefore needed to remodel the work to suit the way he wanted to visualize the world.
I am so outdone.
Start casting the film, we were able to start seeing.
I'm outdone. Because Guillermo... Okay, you guys, I'm going to stop the editing for this particular video right here. Thank you so much for joining me. You can catch part 2 next week. Yes, let me just say, I'm so appreciative that they addressed the whole issue with Peter coming onto the project as a director later on, because I wasn't clear on what exactly happened. So they addressed that right away. And that was very interesting. I didn't know that, first of all, of course, Peter had the choice of whether or not he was going to direct The Hobbit. It didn't even occur to me. I'm like, why wouldn't Peter be chosen? But it's not that he wasn't chosen. It's just that he just didn't want to direct The Hobbit, which is understandable. I mean, he went through such a daunting ordeal just directing all 3 of the Lord of the Rings movies. So it makes perfect sense that he would just kind of pass the baton on to someone else to be a director. So I was on board with that. Okay. But it turns out that I think it was just a number of things that were happening at the time to make it, such a big issue, because the director that they chose, he was working on it for a whole year and a half. A whole year and a half without a green light. You understand? So that's very interesting. And so he was just at a point where he just had to make a decision whether or not he was going to move on to his other projects, or he was going to still kind of be waiting in limbo. So that made perfect sense to me for him to step down. It also made sense that everyone would just be, beside themselves, because it's like, what do you do? Like, who is literally going to come in and take over the reins of directing The Hobbit after the director left, Guillermo left? And of course, the only person that they could realistically slide into this position is, of course, the one and only Peter Jackson. So, I mean, he was a reluctant director for the Hobbit, but I think he pulled it off really well, especially under these conditions. My goodness. He said he had 2.5 years or something like that to prepare for the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And he had like 4 months to prepare for The Hobbit. And let me tell you something. The fact that he only had that much time and he decided to start with a redesign of everything from Guillermo. Everything that Guillermo did, he like literally scratched it and just started all over again from, I just cannot. That just really blew my mind. But anyway, I'm, like I said, I'm excited to get back into watching these behind the scenes. Just doing that is so nostalgic. I like that I took the break to listen to the songs, because I got lost in the songs, but now I'm back in Middle Earth, just like them. So anyway, I'm not going to keep you guys too long. This video is going to be split up into 3 parts because it's a long video. So I hope to see you guys again next week. And once again, thank you for joining me. Until next time, I love you, and let's flow.